Hey everybody, welcome to What Drives Us episode. Whoa, that was two themes in one show.
Wow.
Welcome to episode 369 for June 3rd, 2020. My name is Russell Frost and I am your host for this week's adventure into advanced tech mobility and sustainable energy. Along with me, this amazing panel. Let me introduce them so we can get this show on the road. My co-host and good friend, Mr. Tony Shake.
Hey everybody, how's it going? It is June already, and if the year hasn't gone weird enough, there is a huge asteroid hurtling its way to 1.3 miles from Earth. So we have that to look forward
Giant
to.
meteor for 2020.
Wow.
Yes.
It's gonna get here
Just
before
end it.
Apophos does. What's up?
Yeah. And I feel like we skipped over the murder hornets. I'm waiting for them to come back.
Super volcano. That's
Okay,
Yeah, we
right.
got the giant meteor. We are literally a sci-fi movie mashup for the whole freaking weekend.
We're getting
Yes.
canceled. They just throwing everything in.
It's
This
every
is being written by
asylum movie
6-year-olds.
ever, just mashed into one.
Yeah.
Is Mothra going to make an appearance here? Because I really
No,
like Mothra.
we're
Godzilla
not
will,
good
though.
enough to get Mothra. Mothra
Damn
would
it.
save us. Mothra's a good guy. We
Yeah.
are all this asylum monsters.
That would just be like my time. I don't get to see Mothra, and yet I get to experience the apocalypse. I mean, what? Damn.
Georgia just got big nerd cred though. Awesome.
So will things get
Oh.
more peaceful when the rapture happens?
I am 100% nerd.
When it comes to nerd cred, don't underestimate her. And speaking of her, she is she is a voice actor, a writer, director, photographer, videographer. She does it all, and she does the show. Georgia McKenzie.
Hey, welcome to beautiful 102 degrees in Northern California.
Yikes.
As I sit here in no fan, so you guys can hear me clearly and I can hear you. No AC running. So if I pass out, just call the police. No, wait, don't.
No.
Oh my God. Oh, wow. Wow.
Call the murder hornets. No, I
Yeah.
don't want you there.
Just let the
They might work out
cat
better.
touch my body. It'll be okay.
Yeah.
They'll lead me back to life.
Yeah, the cats will keep your legacy going. Speaking of keeping your legacy going, our man in the Pacific Northwest, Mr. Patrick Connor.
Hello out there, What Drives This crew. Hope you're having a good day, despite all the catastrophes going on.
Go. Thank you. Did your audio cut off, or did you just end that very quickly, Patrick?
I guess I just ended it quickly.
Okay, fair enough. No, I appreciate your brevity, sir. Speaking of brevity, he is our man in the Mid-Atlantic region, famous for his supercharger reviews, Mr. Casey Green.
What's happening, everybody? There is a new supercharger. I've got a bunch of supercharger reviews in the can I need to get out into the web, but there is a new software update coming, so expect a video on that as soon as I receive it and are able to run it through its courses.
There you go. And last and certainly not least, our friend in the Great White North, where it is undoubtedly cool and beautiful, while we are a little bit warmer here in California, Mr. Mark Coughlin.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. And of course, you know that when that meteor strikes Yellowstone, that's what triggers the super volcano, right?
Yeah, I kind of have the 1-2 punch.
Yeah, that's right.
Now for superpowers.
Because otherwise, it
Come
wouldn't
on,
happen. So it's like several disasters rolled into one.
And then we get
Mothra will fly out of
And
the
then you
supervolcano.
get Mothra.
Yes!
Yes.
I just want you all to know that I have literally been sending messages into space, and I've sold all of you for galactic hamburgers just as an exchange for a space cruiser and some credits, and I'm fully willing to admit it.
Sounds fair. I'm good with that.
Well, of course, we know that Georgia from the last couple shows ago, she's got that boat ready to set sail, and she's gone.
Yep.
Solar-powered catamaran.
I'm a little broken up about being sold for hamburger. I got to tell you. I mean,
I don't even eat hamburger.
Russell, I saved you as a prime rib.
It's better
you.
than being sold as.
I recognize your quality. I
Thank
said there
you.
is prime rib. Here's
see,
the
as
name.
long as even in being ground up and fed to aliens, at least if I get to be a better cut, I'm feeling good about it. Thank you.
The bar is low for you.
I don't really know how to launch into this, and I didn't warn anyone on the panel, but I want to. We're not a political show. We get a little political once in a while, but it's about no. What you have you seen any of those shows I've ever? But anyway,
Once
yes,
in a
you. but I don't think we can really do a show without at least mentioning what's going on, and everybody knows. So all I want to say is that Black lives do matter, and that you need to do what you can to support whatever's going on in your community. I had a wonderful little feel good moment, and it wasn't because I did something amazing. That's not it at all. Driving back from the bank today with my wife, there's two young girls, and I live near a high school, so normally at that time of day there's tons of, but no high school obviously. So they were just walking, and I noticed they're holding signs, and they're standing on the corner, and they're holding signs that say Black Lives Matter. And I honked and I waved, and they smiled and they jumped and stuff, and it was like, just connecting with somebody else on a good note is a good thing. And I'm going to, if you guys have messages or something, great. If not, we'll move on.
I think we're all just appalled at what's happening around the country.
It's a difficult time for everybody, and it's we're kind of godsmacked. Like it's an amazing thing that's going on. A lot of us didn't know it was going to get this intense, but it's gotten intense quickly, and I just hope that everyone's safe out there.
Yeah.
So I had someone in my circles try and minimize it all and say, haven't we done enough? The answer is no. If somebody asks you, hey, if you woke up black tomorrow, what would you feel? And if the answer is not indifference, like it makes no difference to me, then like if it's not indifferent, then that means we haven't done enough, because that means there's no equality if you don't want to wake up black, or like if you have a problem waking up black, I should say. I mean,
I'm gonna quote Chris Rock here. You don't want to be me and black, and I'm rich.
That's exactly.
Okay, that is the truth. All right, I get all this melanin that keeps me youthful. Unfortunately, I get all this stress that's gonna kill me looking like a 20-year-old. What can I say? On a serious note, this is a bad thing. This is a really terrible thing. It looks like the bad old days, and if you don't know your history, you don't understand what I'm talking about. And I do suggest you start learning about it, because if I can know my American history in full to the point where I can talk about Chinese cities that were destroyed, during race riots, and that's a really stupidly wrong term, because it wasn't the Chinese having a riot, and it wasn't the black people having a riot that destroyed, the cities in Oklahoma. You need to learn your history. We don't have to go back there. That's going to take focus. It's going to take some lives. I'm very upfront with that about people. But always remember that civil rights fighters did understand that they were risking their life for what they wanted to achieve, and they may not actually be alive to see it. That's the kind of dedication and focus it takes, and that's the facts. It's not going to be easy. It doesn't require sloganeering. And I will also point out that just being on the streets is not the full story. You must be prepared to vote. And that's that, and not just vote for president, because a president is not a dictator. And even though certain factions,
except in some cases,
certain factions in the U.S. would like to have it, that's because they want to have a dictator to impose their will on you. This is a democracy. Vote for everything on the list. And I understand, yes, it's hard, it's complicated, you have to read about it. Y'all fucking know stacks about every goddamn car and every sports agent. Put some of that out of your head and read. That's all I gotta say.
And then I'll add on to, I'll say that just like you always say, get involved in your local stuff. Go to all the meetings. At least if you can't make it, inform yourself on what's going on, and maybe get a proxy to go in for you, because that's where all the real fuckery happens. It's just right there under your nose in your local place.
And cops are controlled. Their contracts, their union contracts are controlled at the local level. Consent decrees do not affect things like how your cops operate, what equipment they are allowed to buy from the federal government. I can tell you this because I've worked in local government, and I've gotten to watch decision making as a camera person for hours on end, try 8,000 hours of watching political meetings on a local level, on the county and city level, you are more powerful than you think to affect things like the police contracts, how they conduct themselves, and their oversight. So please never listen to anybody telling you your vote doesn't count and that you are powerless. That is designed to get you to opt out of participating. And strangely enough, it doesn't accomplish anything you want to have done. Get involved on the local level more than you would on a national level. And I can guarantee you, you will then affect the national level bigger than you would have ever thought.
Yeah, there were a couple of allies that I really liked what they were doing at the community meetings when they were doing the reviews on like what happened this weekend. They're like, what happened, and then like some of these guys were being told, sit down, shut up, order, and he's like, no. It was like not just one person, but it was awesome. They were like, no, this is what I see, and you work for me. You're the elected official. Listen to what I have to say, and then I'll sit down.
Also, the LA live stream of like, I think it was 8 to 9 hours of them being berated on Zoom.
That was must-see video.
It was cathartic and wonderful, and I do. And your city council meetings are probably on Zoom right now. If you go to your city's website, you will be able to find the Zoom meeting, the password, and also the mechanisms to submit a public comment if you cannot view or attend, or to register to post your public comment. Do that if you really feel strongly about this issue and you want to affect change. I've watched way too many wealthy people come in and kill things like good public housing and lower rates for the affordable housing, so that a project that should have good affordable housing as part of the mix winds up with an affordable housing rate where the starting point for $35,000 salary is a $400,000 house. And it's because the voices that should be there are more likely to come out to save a tree from being cut down that's rotten than they are to show up for things like the budget meetings and affordable housing concerns. You don't have to sit through the whole meeting, but you can read a docket, submit a public comment, and have that considered. But rich people will hire somebody who will sit through a 6-hour meeting to make a 5-minute public comment statement on an issue. Think about that. You and your friends can group up and you can team tag each other to just sit in for a while. Oh, okay, I gotta go. You can come in and take my place, and then submit a public comment statement. It really is that easy and that simple. You just have to organize. Some people can pay a person to organize and be there. They're getting paid $150 an hour to sit in the chair and submit that comment. You need to be as canny and as tenacious, and that's just the true facts.
Don't let them silence you, because there are some cases where they'll pull some shenanigans to try and keep you from being heard.
Absolutely.
And how many times have we walked into the voting booth and we know the president, the senator, and the congressman that we want to vote for, and then the other 8/10 of the ballot, we're like, that's a nice name, and oh, this is nice, and oh, this is good.
Judges, when you vote for a judge and you don't know who the judge is.
Yeah, that's really bad.
Yeah.
That's one thing I like about mail-in voting is that
exactly,
you got that, right? Mail-in voting?
Yes, yeah, we have mail-in voting, and so you go through the pamphlet, and if you say, oh, I don't know this, you can go to your computer, look stuff up, and then just fill in the bubble when you've made your decision, an informed decision, instead of just, oh, I don't know, what party are they, or what, I don't know, that name looks good. Yeah, it's really nice.
Can I throw out a couple of resources?
Yeah.
Of course.
Okay, votesmart.org. Most of the time, if you have a ballot measure or an issue or a candidate that you can't find out about, and I, as a voice actor, oftentimes when I see auditions, and especially political ones, I research the candidate. I don't want my voice used for somebody that I am completely diametrically opposed to. I would reject the money before I would take the job. That's just who I am. Votesmart.org. Great way to find out about the ballot measure, and they speak in plain English. And also, League of Women Voters, nonpartisan. Both of them are nonpartisan. How do you know something is partisan? I use this simple language test. that blue is the best blue that's ever been. The sky is the most gorgeous blue. It's this particular shade of blue that's gorgeous. That is a partisan statement. How is it nonpartisan? The sky is blue because of these particular effects in our atmosphere. One is my opinion on a color and what it is and the quality of it. One is the factual representation of what happens. So those two are really strong people to learn about the issues in your area, the candidates on your ballot, and then also go to their websites. Many candidates do have it on their websites. And when you see an advertisement, there's a teeny weeny bitty, like I can't read it, bit of type that we call
Paid for by.
Yeah, we call ant type when I did marketing stuff, and I had to put things down in like 5 or 6 point font. That is often a good indicator of who's funding a measure or a ballot. Go to their website. If you cannot find who is funding a ballot measure, if the candidate refuses to put party affiliation or a clear statement of what they're for, that's often a sign that they're probably not somebody you want to vote for because they are obscuring something.
Yeah. And with all that, you don't have to rely on your memory. Voting laws in the United States allows you to bring paperwork, print stuff out, bring it in. You could even access your phone in the ballot box while you're voting. Now, most people, you're a little late if you're doing your research at that point. So do your research before you go. Make some notes, whether it's handwritten or printed out, and you can access your ballot before you go to the box. You could fill it out at home, take it there,
and bring
then
it with
fill out
you.
the official ballot.
Yeah,
That's usually what I do. Is I fill
very
out
important. Get involved. Do your homework.
Yeah, I fill out the sample and I go in and I fill the real one.
Yeah, change requires involvement. It really cannot be left up to any particular person, because I've watched people who are very left to like the Greens level left, and they have to come to a compromise with the rest of the people that are actually sitting on a council and that make the laws. Laws in the US, no matter who you like, are made via compromise. And the unfortunate truth is we often have a group of people who want to legislate who are in opposition to a group of people who, frankly, don't give a flying F about you. And if they do their jobs at all, they collect the salary, and so they can obstruct as much as they want. And that's the facts. I'd love to be dealing with Noam Chomsky as president and also all the Congress. But I like to live in reality, although frankly, I'm thinking drugs and insanity sounds pretty good right now. But reality is what we have to deal with if we want to change. And Martin Luther King led marches. He gave speeches. All the greats of civil rights did a lot of physical boots on the ground, visual protests, so you could know that there was an issue. But at the end of the day, they went to Capitol Hill, they sat down with legislators, they lobbied for change, they went to presidents, they pushed and they talked and they fought with them for change, to get effective change. You cannot have change without both of them combining into your Voltron force of social justice.
And of course, voting.
And you got to vote. You got to. It is I did behavior as a marketing person for 3 years. And one of the things that dawned on me was like a big to the brain. We've trained people to not feel like taking a more progressive view and taking risks is worth it. Because if it's not far enough, we retract our vote. And it's like we have a lot of people who often say, well, they didn't cut Monsanto out, and there's still GMOs that are allowed to be done in our food supply. So we're not going to vote next season. And it sounds so reasonable. And it's not, because the honest to goodness truth is, if the primary people who show up to vote are more conservative and less concerned about sustainability issues, less concerned about social justice, less concerned about everything you care about, then they naturally have to veer over it. So it's like when we train, my apologies to fellow humans, although you're not as good as dogs, but if you're trained dogs to be responsive to something that's very negative, which is things like force, and dogs start hiding the fact that they're scared of you and they're always in a state of tension, dogs get more and more violent. That's why we have a problem with understanding the concept of alpha, because we studied the alpha male syndrome in wolves that were in captive stress. But when we look at the alpha male of the wolf in nature, they are alpha because they're more nurturing, they do more for their communities, and that's why they lead. So we learned that as the more brute force we put on a dog, the more they're going to look to us as a leader. That is absolutely wrong. It actually creates a dangerous powder keg in animal behavior. Well, when you step back from voting and you say, you're not giving me 100% of what I want, then we teach the people that need our votes to stay in office, well, you're not consistent enough, you're not regular, I can't trust you to be there, even when I give you, even if I manage to get you 25 because I duked it out with the people who would give you 0, you're not rewarding me for that. And so they have to start skewing more and more conservative if they want to stay in office and have even marginal change. There is a good reason why we no longer have people like FDR. And even FDR, I really need people to look at his full and complete record, because much of the things you think FDR gave America was excised from groups like Black people, from women. We didn't get access to Social Security until years later. We had to fight to have access. It was a good and progressive program, but people were excised from it. You must know your history to understand that incrementalism is actually the only reason we got all the way up to Obergefell and the marriage ruling that gave us gay marriage as a constitutional right. And there is nothing, absolutely nothing in the Constitution, nothing on the books that is settled law. That is a very stupid misnomer that people think that because it has a precedent, it's been called settled law and it's in the books and we've had a lot of victories on it, that it cannot be changed. All you need is a willing court, a willing Supreme Court, and a person with standing to challenge that ruling, and you can have it overturned. Nothing is settled, because that is what democracy is. And if you let enough people get power, whoop, there goes your rights, there goes settled law. That's how it works. Too bad, so sad, you're screwed.
And on that happy note,
I'm a juror.
get out there and be involved. That's all. This is a show that is probably best described as we're activists. We feel that there are certain good paths to go down and other paths that aren't as good, and that's one of the things that makes us passionate, that makes us involved. The reason we do this without collecting any money is because we believe in it and we love it, and we enjoy each other's company, obviously. But again, this issue may not be as fun as electric cars or as football or as anything else that you're interested in, but it's the most important thing you can deal with. So please
outlawed electric cars because they felt
spend a couple of minutes and take care of that.
Mm-hmm.
What did Georgia just say?
It can happen. It really can.
Oh, it could.
Yeah.
We can make things better. We
One
just have
vote
to.
The
away.
enemy of the good.
Yeah.
Real quickly, as some of you who follow us on Twitter or on Instagram may know, I just finished a week with the 2020 Toyota Supra. There will be a complete video review, and I haven't decided what form that's going to take yet. But complete video review and all that coming up in the next few days. But a lot of fun. It was a very red car. And that is all I'm going to say about that right now.
Good.
Let's go to both Mark Coughlin and Casey Green for our very first story.
Who likes saving money? Take it away, Mark.
Yeah, exactly. We've got a car, an EV that was introduced in its first form from Jaguar. the I-Pace. Now, the I-Pace came out earlier in the year, and it didn't quite stack up to competition. What we found was that wonderful looking car. I took it for a test drive. It is quick, it's fast, it handles very well, but it's got issues on the range side of things. It's not as efficient as other EVs are in its segment. And it's a limited amount of space on the interior. So even though it is quite a large SUV looking vehicle, inside it's limited on its available space. And of course, the range is the other big hit for the efficiency. And what was announced this week was that a number of Jaguar dealers in the US have been discounting the car heavily. To the tune of $20,000 discounts being given in a number of different markets, where the car typically being sold for about 65 to 70 is being reduced by 20K right off of that. So obviously Jaguar is trying to move a number of units that haven't, or dealers are trying to do the same, trying to get them off the books, and being pushed out the door with those discounts. Now, I can say, after test driving one of these vehicles, if you can live with the range, the car's spectacular. Like, really, it drives really nice. It holds the road nicely. And, man, the acceleration it's almost Tesla-like. It's a fast car. And I think it looks great. The outside of it, the exterior, looks wonderful. It's just that range problem and efficiency is not as good. But if you're using the car as a regional car, certainly you will be able to get away with that. I guess it depends on your situation. Everyone's situation is different, but looking at that, it's reasonable to say that the car would do well for most.
Okay, dude,
go ahead.
234 miles.
Yeah.
I mean,
we're not really talking about like a neighborhood vehicle here.
Right.
No,
Yeah.
you can even go to the next state. You don't want to do multiple charging stops, just because of the nature of the network.
Okay, how many times have we discussed on this show? How many people on a regular basis drive coast to coast, not cannibalized? Okay, Casey, you're the one person this car is not for. The other 99.9999999% would do just fine with 234 miles of range per day.
And that's what I was about to bring up, is most people who have a vehicle like this, unless you're a single person, it's not usually going to be your only vehicle. So if you have another vehicle, say a Tesla or an ICE, that can do the long distance, or if you don't do coast to coast, you get on an airplane, why even consider that all your cars need to be able to do? Again,
it's not a city car. This is a regional vehicle.
Yeah,
it can go to multiple cities around you. It's not like it's, and of course, with Charge America and other networks that are building up, you're going to have that ability to go further. It's not as seamless as, say, a Tesla and a supercharger network, but for the amount that you're saving, you got to weigh things. It's going to make sense to a number of people. It certainly will.
So you've got a territory, like you're a salesperson or a traveling doctor, for instance. As long as you're only making one stop, it's still very seamless. If you're going to the, like, say, somewhere 400 miles away, okay, you're making one stop, no big deal. It's the only time there's any math or work or mapping involved is just because the network isn't there yet. They're working on it. Is if you have to make multiple trips,
My only concern with the vehicle and with Jaguar as a whole is this was their first kick at the can at a major EV. This is their first try at this. And in some cases, in my opinion, they fell short for the price they were charging. Obviously, this $20,000 discount addresses some of that. But what I really hope does not happen, that Jaguar does not give up. I hope they go to a second level and they go back to the drawing board and said, let's improve on A, B, and C. We know those are issues. Let's roll that into the development of our next vehicle, maybe a year out, and bring back a version 2. That's what they need to do in order to become competitive and to be able to charge the top price they were asking previously at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
the second gen Volt did. They learned from what we gave them. My favorite is if you go to White Plains, New York, you can get 21,569 off of this car.
Yeah.
Well,
And,
What's
you
that
know,
make the final price?
I gotta say,
The final price was
Yeah.
initially 88,001.
this is a gorgeous car.
I like the
It
shape.
is.
To
It is
me,
a
I'm looking at it
beautiful
and it's
car.
like style wise, this is a Jaguar. I'm not a I'm not a car person in the sense that I don't give a flying fuck about a car as long as it runs properly, and I can get from point A to point B without a problem. But I look at this and I feel honestly, this is a failure both at the price point and at the marketing because I didn't really see it much on the market. I don't feel it's really been pushed, but the interior is quality. And Jaguar means great driving. And I think that's, as Mark was saying, that the handling was great. Because my question is like, why wouldn't it sell? Is the handling there? Is the luxury there? And this is a luxury vehicle. It looks fantastic. And 230 something miles. I have a 2013 Fit. You know how many miles I've put on it in the 4 years I've owned it? 15,000 miles. That's it. I am the perfect person for this car, and I am not unique because all I have to do is truck around town and maybe go up to SAC and come back down. This is for the person who wants to have a luxury vehicle that saves them a lot of gas and is sustainable. It's beautiful. It's a status symbol, and Jaguars are status symbols. I don't really feel the price point was too high in the sense that the person who would buy a Jaguar wouldn't pay $70K, but I don't feel that it was properly marketed here. And I think that's a strong failure on the part of Jaguar's group that they didn't put the effort that they put normally into their cars into this. Because this should have had some great spots. This should have really been pushed, and it wasn't pushed. And because everything else about it just screams luxury vehicle. And we're not buying a Jaguar for its endurance for a 500-mile road race. We're buying it because we're rich ponces and we're going out there showing off the fact that we have a freaking Jaguar. And
Yeah,
that's
And
all.
you're exactly right.
You can fly
As
first
a
class
passenger
anywhere.
and a driver, this car was off the charts, just luxury.
Yep.
It is. It's a gorgeous car inside and out.
But I never saw it advertised. I just saw it sitting in the middle of the mall.
Yeah, and that's the problem. What the
Yeah.
hell are you doing? You have this vehicle
Locked.
and you shouldn't be having it just sit in the mall. You're supposed to get out there and put some famous voiceover and go, the Jaguar I-Pace. It's the car for you. That's what you need to be doing, man. What are you doing, marketing people?
You should
You're
get the
sitting
Jaguar
there
I-Pace.
drinking heavily and smoking weed, and you're not putting out one good piece of advertisement. I'm
Are
sitting
you having
right
a
here.
midlife
I can market
crisis?
this for you.
Consider the Jaguar I-Pace in red.
I will mention one last thing. For people that are interested in picking up a used vehicle, watch for this car in 2 more years.
Yep.
You are going to get a tremendous discount off the new price as well. So if you're looking at picking up a used vehicle, this is going to be a great one to snatch up once the 3-year leases are over.
Well, now one thing that's not in this article, and I'm scanning it again just to make sure that I didn't miss it. They're talking about the dealers offering, $20,000 to $21,000 off. But doesn't Jaguar still qualify for $7,500?
They do.
They do.
So wouldn't it be the equivalent of $27,500?
I didn't see it in the article, but they could be bundling it in that 20 figure. That's possible that they're doing that. But you're right. It may be more depending. And of course, state incentives on top of that.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, that would be massive. Holy crap.
So let's keep this in perspective. This is a vehicle that starts between $60,000 to $80,000.
Yeah.
Okay. You're not gonna take this bad boy home for 17 grand, but 27 grand off is a huge discount, and
That's almost
Yeah.
a third.
33
Right.
is a lot better than 60.
And it has a similar range to the Chevy Bolt. And if you get all these discounts and you were shopping, you're like, should I have a Jaguar or a Chevy?
I'll tell you which one.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Trust me, 30 seconds in the I-Pace, you'll know which one you want.
Not the Bolt. I love the Bolt, but
Yeah.
I would take the I-Pace.
The Bolt's
I
great.
would. These are wow. This is almost tempting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the first time where I really had like a, oh, hey, sexy.
Wait a minute. You've been on the show how many times with me, and this is the first time.
Yeah.
You're more like, hey, serviceable.
Tony, open the door,
How many
right?
times
Hey,
have I heard that in
hell
my
no.
life?
It works.
Hey,
Long
I guess I'll
relationships
settle
are
for
built
you.
on serviceable.
I tend to go by the name Last Call. I'm not really sure where I heard that name.
La-
Starlink satellites have just deployed.
Nice.
Landing.
Well, speaking of Tony, last call Schaefer, Tony's going to talk to us about another upcoming vehicle, I should say, that we hopefully want to talk about much more on this show soon. So, Tony, what's up with the RAV4 Prime?
So before I get to the RAV4 Prime, I want to do a word from our sponsors. Yep, those were our sponsors.
Okay.
Our viewers, our listeners, you are our sponsors. And if you want to read all the news that we're reading, make sure you check us out online. Russell had mentioned Twitter and Instagram. We're on Facebook. Look for us at What Drives Us on Facebook. Leave us comments, submit some news items and whatever. If you do use Flipboard, look for the What Drives Us Flipboard magazine. Also, YouTube introduced something new that we started with our last show, 368. So from now on, all of our shows are going to have, YouTube calls them chapters, but basically the video will be automatically broken up into segments that if you want to jump literally from topic to topic, you'll be able to go to the timeline and you'll be able to see when we change from one topic to another. And if you want to review a topic, you'll be able to go back. It's just one neat little thing that YouTube has introduced. You'll start seeing that in the timeline as you watch our videos.
I started doing that on my own as well. So when we start prattling on about something you're not interested in, just look for the little break in the timeline. And
No,
then find
don't
the next
kill
one
our
you're
viewers
interested in.
numbers.
Yeah, see, I mean,
No,
that's
it's
the thing.
better than clicking out of the whole video.
Yeah.
Don't click out the
Skip.
video, just
Skip.
go to the next topic. That's what we're saying. Yeah.
Like, we're
Yeah.
skipping that Georgia woman.
Oh. Well, I mean, we do go along sometimes, and so that's nice to if you want to find the next one. People are busy.
Right.
And thank you for watching. We really appreciate it. So if that gray subscribe button down below is not gray, if it's red, turn it gray. Click it.
I don't want a red subscribe button. Red subscribe buttons suck. You want a
Okay,
gray-
Tony, take it away.
So, Toyota recently released the pricing of their upcoming 2021 RAV4 Prime. It had been a mystery for the longest time. They finally came out with their pricing. Now, what they did was there's going to be two different models for the RAV4 Prime. There's going to be the SE and the XSE. Now, the difference between the SE and the XSE is that the XSE has an X in front of it.
Okay, wait. Before you get into this, so I've heard of a Prius Prime. What's a RAV4 Prime, Tony?
Oh, that is a very good question. Thank you, Pat. For our new listeners who would like a little primer. So Toyota has taken this thing in that the Prius, as we know, was Toyota's first hybrid vehicle. And they came out in, what was it, 2012, 2014 with the plug-in Prius, or the Prius plug-in, or whatever they were calling it.
PIP, yep.
Yeah, the PIP, plug-in Prius. Well, in 2017, they came out with a dedicated plug-in model on their new TNGA platform, and they decided to differentiate it by adding the Prime. And the Prius Prime is different from the standard Prius in that it has a larger battery and it can travel, they say 25, but most drivers will tell you 30 to 35 miles on a charge before the engine kicks in, and then it runs as a regular hybrid. So speculation is, as Toyota adds plug-in capabilities to their different models, they'll give it the Prime nomenclature to differentiate the plug-in version from the hybrid version.
Kind of like Russell got his lunch meat. He was prime grade.
Versus our hamburger alien.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Trying to do a throwback. I failed.
There was a little yeah.
Yeah.
Nicely
I thought
done.
that's where you were going with it, but probably lunch meat.
Oh yeah.
So of course, thank you, Patrick, for bringing that up. It's always good to review. So the XSE, of course, has some more features and things, bigger wheels and a bigger screen. But what's really important here is the SE RAV4 Prime is starting at $39,220, and that's base. And the XSE is starting at $42,545 base. Now, here's the interesting part. Both of them qualify for the $7,500 federal incentive. So that lowers the SE to $31,720, which is mid-range for the RAV4 Hybrid. So the RAV4 Hybrid has 4 models. So 2 models are less than $31,000 and 2 models are more. So you could get a RAV4 plug-in with 35 to 40 miles of range on EV for less than the top 2 models of the RAV4 Hybrid. Now the XSE after the incentive is $35,000, which is less than the limited hybrid. So with the incentives, both RAV4 Primes are less expensive than the most expensive RAV4 Hybrid. Now, of course, if you get the weather and audio package, which is the most expensive package you can add on to the Prime, that bumps the price up to $40,000. So it adds $5,000, or actually like $5,400, $5,800. But still, this is an example of Toyota releasing a version of one of their existing cars that very well might cannibalize their existing lineup. And they kind of did the same thing with the Prius. After incentives and everything, the Prius Prime was less expensive than some of the higher level Prius hybrids. So this is just new news and kind of exciting. It's exciting for me because my wife really wants a RAV4 Prime. And so now that we have the numbers, I know exactly, what to aim for, what to save for, and, talk about putting down and whatever. But
And now that the Volt is canceled, I mean, you have a part-time electric car, and for all of your commuting, you might not ever use any gasoline. And then when you do need to take a long trip, say this is your only car, or say both cars do need to go on long trips because you don't fly, you've got it.
yeah,
Right.
exactly.
And before you poo-poo the 42-mile EV range in the RAV4 Prime, Mark, how much range does your Volt have?
It gets 53 miles.
And how much gas did you put in that for 12,000 kilometers?
basically a quarter tank, or maybe 8 liters.
All of which is to say, yeah, it's eminently usable. It's maybe not for everybody. It's maybe not the very best thing, but it has amazing utility. So,
Yeah. And we saw with all those corporations that never plug their Volts in, you can just use this regular hybrid if you have to. But then, say you stopped you go to dinner, and there's a charging station right there. You can park right up front, and then when you plug in, your ride home is free.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's that much less gas.
Yeah. Like I said, my Prime gets, during the summer, I can eke out 35, almost 40 miles of range. And I work 15 miles away. Well, yesterday I had to go into the office, and I drove 15 miles into the office and still had enough range to drive back. I mean, normally when I go in, I plug in, but I didn't even plug in because I didn't need to. And my wife works even closer than I do. So the RAV4 Prime is going to be perfect. We'll have 2 plug-in vehicles, and a tank of gas is going to last us a very long time. I'm still burning that tank of gas that I put in my car after Thanksgiving last year.
Yep, my first tank of gas in my first Volt lasted until I bought the second Volt.
Wow. Yeah, plug-in hybrids are really great for a lot of people. If you don't have infrastructure, or if you're normally just driving short Or if you have,
Mhm.
we were talking about 100-mile EVs. If you have one of those as your commuter and you have this for your road trips or whatever, and yeah, so there's lots of great applications for plug-in hybrid.
Yeah, and once or twice a year, I drive to Southern Indiana to see the family, and that's 380 miles, easily within a tank of gas.
There you go.
There you go. Well, let's go to a different sort of environmentally friendly vehicle for our final story. Patrick, take it away.
Okay, so this story I thought was interesting, and it's about bikes. It says there's a national
Wait, it's about
shortage.
bikes? Bicycles?
Oh, this is a car show.
No.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's
I'm
about
just-
getting around and
Yay,
transportation
bicycles.
responsibly. Yeah. So I didn't know this, but there's currently a shortage in the U.S. and people are buying bikes right now during the pandemic. Hey, we're at home. Let's go for a bike ride, and you're socially distanced when you're doing that. So great. Let me read just a few of the high points from this. The article is titled "The Surprising Reasons a Biking Boom is Great for Cities." So some of them, there are 13 years of crash data from 12 American cities between 2000 and 2012 that found that bike routes meant fewer fatalities on those roads. And that's interesting. So it somehow makes drivers more mindful. Although this only happened when the bikes had physical protection, not just painted lines. So that's one thing. If you are a city that right now, we talked about Seattle and Portland, how they're taking some roads and making them low speed roads and pedestrian friendly roads and only allowing cars in that are in that neighborhood. So this is something that you could do to put in the physical divider for that extra pedestrian and bicycle traffic. And then one of the reasons that caught my eye is that they specifically talked about Portland. Cyclists and pedestrians in Portland, Oregon spend more per month in stores, bars, and restaurants than car drivers. So if you're walking or biking, you're involved in that neighborhood. You're paying attention to what's going on. You're not just looking at how do I get through this as quickly as possible to get wherever I'm going. So if you see a shop that's interesting, you're going to stop and check it out and just be more involved in your community, which gets back to what we were talking about earlier. So the last thing I want to throw out here, and then we can talk about it if you guys want, is there's a new bike lane going in Seattle that's replacing 12 street parking spaces. And when they did that, that increased spending in the stores that were at that storefront. So that was taking out parking, which you would think, hey, if there's a parking spot in front of my store, I'm going to sell more. No, it turned out a bike lane actually sold more than parking spots did. There you go.
See, and that part really surprised me because, I mean, I understand bars and restaurants, right? Because I can easily carry out what I purchased because I ate it and drank it.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as going to stores, the whole thing, like, I'm not going to be like buying clothes. I wouldn't even think that I would be buying merchandise on a bike.
Yeah, you could have a couple of saddlebags to throw stuff in,
I'm
or a
gonna,
backpack to toss
I'm
it
gonna
in.
speak for Bicycle City, which I live in, and for a lot of people, you get those damn kids out of those kiddie caravans you attach to your bicycle. Get those kids out of there, and you throw your groceries in the back, and you throw stuff in the back. They are everywhere shopping with those things, full of their groceries, their clothes. They go to the hardware store. They travel up and down the town in the bicycles. So yes, a lot of people actually use that as a way to carry basic goods. And in a lot of cases, I've seen some pretty interesting transport options that seem to be safe. I personally can't ride a bike, so I'm gonna let them go. But it does work.
Yeah. All right. So it's like
I-
a trunk.
I like Patrick's comment about the local aspect of biking.
Mm-hmm.
That you are traveling slower, therefore you can look around a little bit more, and you can find, hey, there's a store I might be interested in, or I'm going on a particular journey, not realizing that there may be 2 or 3 stops before that that I could stop in and get the same merchandise or shop in the same way. So it's something that allows you to stay more local and spend the money in the local community, as opposed to in a car you may be driving to the other side of the metropolitan area because you're just used to going to a particular one store. But with the bike, you can find out what's going on around you a lot easier by going slower.
Right, you'll find alternatives to the big box places.
If you really mean it, because it's very cool to say, everybody shop local, support locals, be independent. Yeah. If you really mean that, ride your bike to the local cluster of local merchants and check them out and walk through them and spend some money. The other thing I wanted to bring up is e-bikes and cargo bikes.
Yeah,
this is, this isn't like 1970 where everything's like a 10-speed Schwinn where you maybe got a basket in the front, man. Some of these cargo bikes are amazing and they're easy to ride, especially with an electric motor assist. You can carry all kinds of stuff on it. And it's not the matter that you're going to sweat bullets getting home because you've got that little throttle motor. This is a really good solution, and a lot of bikes would help all of us out. It would make our living experience better. I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm curious how it would compare with places like Amsterdam and certain cities in China where they're more bikeable. Does this come closer to what they're seeing, or are we anomalous?
Anomalous. Unless you have a really focused open space planning committee that wants to develop a bike-friendly city. I mean, like I said, I've sat through way too many meetings.
I mean the places that are already more bike-friendly than the rest of the country.
I lived in Alameda, and to give you an example, I rode in my tricycle a parade that was about sustainable transit all through Alameda on my trike. And to get to downtown Oakland from my trike, the easiest way, because the main route directly from Alameda to Oakland is the tunnel. And it took me a lot to be able to drive through the tunnel by myself. There's no way to ride a bike through the tunnel unless you are crazy. So you have to go all the way to the bridge of Alameda, which is halfway midpoint through the island, and then cross up through, and then bike through most of East Oakland, which if you know the area, you know East Oakland, and then come up to the Jack London Square, and that made it almost added on 100% extra mileage route to go there. And that is the essence of a transit route that should have been bikeable, but was not immediately bikeable unless you fully understood how to plot a route out from Alameda and around. But Alameda itself was actually very bikeable if you only shopped right there on the island. So it's one of those local involvement really matters if you would like to have a more bikeable city. And for that, attend your planning commission and your open space commission and posit that as a targeted goal for your city councils for this year or the next year, depending on when your session is.
Buy a bike, ride it, and then be involved to make it easier to ride your bike. I have the same situation here in North San Diego County. There's a string of North County communities, and you literally can't get south of them inland. There's two ways. You can go on a hiking trail, which is usually full of, oddly enough, hikers, and they resent a bicycle on there, or you're allowed to be on a 1.5 mile long stretch of the 80-mile-an-hour 15 South Freeway on your bicycle.
On a bike.
Yeah. You get on at one exit and get off at the next exit. And then you can go all the way to San Diego on a bicycle. But I mean, that's crazy.
That's hella dangerous.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And that's the same thing. The same thing happened around Chicago.
Has a bike route from Davis to Sacramento. So although it's long, you're protected. I'm sorry, Tony, go ahead.
Yeah, no, as I say, the same thing happened in and around Chicago. As suburbs grew up and developed, very car-centric, 2 or 3 lanes in either direction with a turn lane in between, certainly not safe for pedestrians. And, your bike lane is a sidewalk, if and when you can find one. Just not planned out for people on bikes. It's, everything, they're built up for mega malls, strip malls, big box stores, and cars. That's it.
Looking at you, Contra Costa County.
Looking at all of you.
Yep.
Let's do some shout outs and go home. I'm going to start with Mark Coughlin.
Shout out to the Waterloo Region EVA. You can follow us at WREVA Group on Twitter and see what we're up to every single day.
And somebody needs to keep an eye on those people, so please go do that. Georgia, any shout outs this week?
Shout out to all the protesters. Shout out to the few good cops who have pretty much resigned their commissions.
That's strange.
And shout out to anybody keeping their sanity in this madness, because you're the real MVP.
A shout out to all our friends in LA who just went through a 5.5 earthquake. Yeah, baby! One step closer to the apocalypse. That's all I'm saying.
Seriously,
I swear to
wow.
God, it's like every single thing somebody sent to the writer's room that they put in too much stuff.
We're going to have a 7-year cycle of cicadas this year.
Yes,
Yeah.
Yes.
See?
And then frogs will rain from the sky.
we already have poison toads coming out. We're done with the frogs.
That's it. Casey Green.
So take a look at my YouTube channel. It's Casey Green. It's youtube.com/Casey Green, KACEYGREEN. I've got some videos coming out, and I hope you'll enjoy them.
Thank you so much, Casey Green. Patrick Connor.
And with the Oregon Electric Vehicle Association, you can find us at oeva.org. And I also blog occasionally at carswithcords.net, and I've got one coming out tomorrow about why I think this decade will be the tipping point for EVs.
Is this going to be a Russell versus Patrick debate, or are we going to agree, Patrick?
I think I don't think you'd argue with this one.
We'll probably.
You would argue against the tipping point for EVs?
No, I wouldn't. I just, Patrick and I, we have this. I think one of the healthy parts of our relationship is that we like to debate things. Mm-hmm. And often carswithcords.net is the source material. He writes a story and then I read it and I have to go, no, you're wrong. Here.
And then we make a beer bet and then about something that'll happen in 3 years and then we forget about it.
Yeah.
Well, Tony's writing them down now, so
right.
Now I'm putting it in my
Thankfully,
calendar.
Tony's keeping track. Yeah, I don't keep track because I just assume I win all of them. So
right, and I do the same.
Yeah, I mean, that's
so
you're
both like we'll just both have to buy each other a lot of beer if we ever see each other face to face.
Ever, but that's who knows? Not Comic-Con this year, that's for sure.
No.
Yeah.
Well, last and not least, Mr. Tony Schaefer, bring us home, baby.
Oh my gosh, that's everyone. Yeah, again, a shout out to all the protesters. A shout out to all the peaceful protesters. A big finger in the air to all the agitators and the looters. You're not protesting, you're looting. Yeah. And to those of you who are listening to the show on audio, if you have not yet, please head over to YouTube and do a subscribe. We really appreciate that. Thank you so much for listening to the audio stream. Really do appreciate that. Unfortunately, the audio people don't give us a lot of feedback. The YouTube subscription would let us know that you're out there. And if you want to make sure you never miss a show, make sure you subscribe. We're on Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube, Google Play, TuneIn, iTunes. Go ahead and subscribe to all of them. Why not? I think it's free. So, hey, there you go.
And I don't care if you're a joiner or not. Just join.
Right.
Oh, wait, that was a little demanding, wasn't it?
Demand
Please.
better.
Yeah,
Demand better,
please.
exactly.
Yeah.
We
say
must.
join, damn it.
As
That's
always,
show
I wanna
title.
I'm sorry, what was the show title? Join,
Join.
Damn It?
Damn it.
Okay. I'm writing it
Pick
down. There
the
we
ones
go.
that get it so they don't show our show.
As
Oh,
always, I want to thank Michael Manring for our amazing theme music. Visit him at manthing.com. Big alert, this Friday, June 5th on Bandcamp. Go to Bandcamp, buy a Michael Manring song, buy the Michael Manring Small Moments album. Why, I ask, why on Friday? Because on Friday, Bandcamp is not keeping any money. They're giving all the money to the artists. So go buy Michael's record. He gets a couple of extra pennies, and maybe buy something else from somebody else. Yeah, am I supposed to do that? Is that
I was clapping because that was a good move.
Bitches.
Make it
Yeah.
Rain.
Rain.
That's it.
Silly.
So, as always, you can find us all over social media at What Drives Us. We're at What Drives Us on Twitter, Facebook.com/What Drives Us. And of course, as Tony mentioned, YouTube.com/What Drives Us, where we ask you please subscribe because that's the best way to support the show for free. If you want to give us money, maybe you have more money than you know what to do with. You want to give us money. Luckily, there's a site that will help you do that. Patreon.com/What Drives Us Show. That's patreon.com/What Drives Us Show. There you can subscribe for as little as $1 a month. That's less than 25 cents per show. I mean, come on.
So if you don't have enough to buy a discounted iPace, go to Patreon and just put that money towards the show.
Absolutely. Okay, so I'm sorry. Are we voting on a show title? Is that it? Or we need that after
I like
the
that
show?
one. I like
Money will
2020.
kill us all. You know, that sounds just about right.
That's just about right. Yeah.
I wonder if that'll be our most popular show, or everyone will just be like, "No way, am I clicking on that?"
I think our regular viewers know well enough that.
Yeah, that's true. We did have something about eating babies or something one time, didn't we?
Yes.
Oh no, it was something about save an EV, kick a baby or something like that.
Save a puppy.
Yeah, kick
Kill a
puppy.
puppy, save it. I don't know.
Yeah.
We don't need to go there again.
We're not horrible people. We just play them on television.
Right.
I want to thank Georgia McKenzie, Mark Coughlin, Patrick Connor, Casey Green, and Tony Schaefer for another fantastic show. I want to thank all of you, as always, for watching, supporting us, listening, whatever, downloading it. Check us out next week and find out what drives us. And play. Oh, that's some good music. Jag on the Jeep. There we go. See you next week, everybody.
Bye. Stay charged. Stay safe.
Did it.